project because we're doing a townhouse that's connected into other buildings. I have talked about this before in other videos, but I don't recommend doing these types of projects in sections one by one. It's much better to do these buildings all in one shot because of the interconnectedness of the roofing systems. However, this project is a bit of a special case because this unit, we are on a corner unit. It has a court order to renovate because the former owner of the unit, or I guess he still owns it technically, the tenant is older gentleman who needs assistance and will be put into an old folks home, and they need to sell this house for finances. So basically, as a legal guardian that has to get this house up to snuff to resell it. There are leaks all over the place inside, mold all over the inside, really bad. These walls were all cracked out, so under Perkins Construction, we had a court order approval to redo the stucco. There was a lot of bad plywood, 18 sheets, and this is only a 22 square townhouse. So 22 squares is 2,200 square feet of roofing. So kind of a small roof for 18 sheets of plywood. And you see the wall here, all fresh stucco, including around the tower here. So the purpose of this video is not going to be on the tile installation, which you see a lot of the tiles on right now, but I want to show you the transition so that you can understand, if you have a property like this, what needs to occur in order to do the roof and why it's better to do this type of project all in one shot. Just so you can see the primer, the stucco, I have recommended that they should paint this property. We're still waiting on court approval for the painting because to resell the property without painting it, it's not going to get nearly as much money as it should if it were painted. And one thing you can see is that we have put Polyflash 1C on the wall transitions and around all the vents. That's just the best way to flash anything on these roofs is Polyflash 1C. You see a lot of the tiles are completed right here. And looking down, here is the transition area. So this is another unit. This is the neighboring unit, and this roof was done not too long ago. And for us to do this, because this unit comes into this unit, this is where we have what we just discussed, this issue on transitioning roofs. So right here, we have a cricket where the neighbor's roof and our new roof combined. Basically a giant valley you see against the wall. Here's our roof, and we've Polyflash 1C the transition where this tower is. Like half of the tower is the neighbors and half is our side, which is just strange how some of these roofs work sometimes on these shared roofs. Now, issues. We are foaming. You can see our A and B AH 160 foam right here. So our side's going to be good. We're using foam. And you can see here that on the neighboring roof, the tiles are screwed in. Looks like they did use some foam on some of these, but they also use screws. So you can see that these are screwed in, these tiles. Don't recommend that, putting holes in the roof. But something we had to do here is this cricket. We had to come into the neighbor's side of the property. So there's a valley metal in here in the cricket, and then we sealed off this little end with Polyflash 1C into the return. Just a much better seal that way. And then you can see that the way that you're doing these transitions is that the cap sheet, which is this flat roof, is going to run underneath the TU+. So right here, it's running underneath the TU+. Now on the other end here, the roof we're transitioning into, we can't run underneath it because we can't pull their paper up. So we have to seal on top of it, which is not ideal because now this is backlap. So you see we sealed all this with roof cement, but you're creating backlap issues by doing that. But that's just why it's way better to do all these simultaneously. And you see the screws. This is why I don't like screwed in tiles. So anytime that you're coming into the neighbor's side of the property, something that we do at Perkins Roofing is we require the neighbor to sign off on a waiver saying, hey, Perkins is not responsible for yada, 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 because we don't want them to blame us for their whole roof when all we're doing is coming into this section right here. So we're only going to be responsible for the part of the roof that we're doing. And what can happen is that, especially since it's the low area, if you have leaks up high up here, especially screwed in roof, any of these screws up here could leak. So we have all these screwed in screws right here. Any of these could leak, but guess what? If there's a leak, water runs down slope, downhill, right? Water is not going to leak straight through the hole in the screw. What it's going to do is it's going to leak down and then run down to the wall and leak at the wall where the two units meet, which is right under here. So this is why we have this waiver, because we are installing the tiles the correct way, foaming them in. As you see the guys behind me right there with the A and B foam, putting the foam in. Whereas they screwed in. So any of these holes where these screws have been made could leak. Like right now, we're doing a 3-year-old roof where screws have leaked from wind. Because it shakes the tile. You get enough wind, it shakes the tile. Water will get into that hole because that hole will expand. So that is the issue. And that's why we have the waiver to protect us in the event something like that happens. But this is why I don't recommend doing this one unit at a time, this type of roof. It is much better to do the entire building structure in one shot so that you have one responsible party and so that you're not doing double work. So when you do this, we're going back and forth. I'm coming here and doing this transition. Next time they do this roof, they're gonna come back into my roof and it's gonna be a different contractor, and you're doing that on every single unit in the whole building. Way better to just do the whole building in one shot. It makes way more sense. Trying to portion this out, it's not logical from a construction or roofing quality standpoint. But money talks, and that's why people wait to do their roof, because they don't have the money or whatever. Like this guy waited, like obviously like the guardianship in the court had to approve to do this. So, you know, that's what happens is people wait because they don't want to spend the money. And then now you've got pre-portioned roofs and you're coming back into each other's work, different roofing contractors, different installation methods, and it's all in different times. So there's a bunch of double work. It's not ideal. Thanks for watching this video. As you see from the ground, our section transition into the neighboring sections. And if you need roofing work done, give us a call at Perkins Roofing, Miami 305 MIA Roof. That's Miami, Broward, and the Keys. For Palm Beach, where we're at, we're in Green Acres right now. For Palm Beach, 561-559 Roof for Palm Beach, Martin, St. Lucie counties, or the rest of Florida. And we'll travel. As you can see, if you've watched my Naples video, we're actually cheaper than the roofers on the West Coast. So, even including all our travel expenses. So give us a call, Perkins Roofing. You'll get a better roof, high velocity hurricane zone rated, and cheaper than what you can get from your local companies. So better, cheaper, no issues. Best company in Florida, Perkins Roofing. For Perkins Construction, if you want impact windows, you want house painting, concrete restoration, stucco, like here, Perkins Construction. You can call either of those numbers for either location for Perkins Construction. And if you want to franchise with me to do projects like this and learn about how to bid this appropriately, since you've got the two sections and you'll get all my legal waivers and all that stuff, like for here, you won't have to spend money on a lawyer to draft that up. I've already done it, so you'll just get my forms. That's why it's better to franchise. If you want to be a roofing contractor, better to franchise with me and get my tutelage. Perkins Franchising. Thank you for watching this video about how to do a roof that transitions into another roof, how to do a duplex, how to do a transition roof from one housing unit into another correctly.